Welcome back to the Marching to Madness College Basketball Podcast with Coach Mike Boynton of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, who are 3-2. They currently took an 82-78 win over DePaul this week. Coach Boynton now beginning his sixth season in Stillwater. Coach, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. It's always great to be, watching basketball this time of year and participating, and we're excited for another season.
Sure. Now, Avery Anderson feels like he's going to be a tremendous leader in addition to a superior scorer for you. He hit the key three to get you past DePaul, and he's averaging 13.4 points a game to lead Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Avery's been rock solid for us for now 4 years. You don't see that as often now, 4-year players at one program. Yeah. But we're fortunate to have a couple of them. Avery's certainly our leader. He works his butt off. He's been an all-conference caliber player here for a while, and we're certainly glad to have him and look forward to seeing where he can, with his leadership, take this particular team.
Your guys' presence on the defensive end of the floor is always prime, I think, and opponents have only shot 35.9% through the first games, and they're only 29% from three. Talk a little bit about what is chartering this defense this season.
Well, first of all, we have guys who care about defense. It's a staple of our program, and it's been a staple of Oklahoma State basketball for a long time. And I know that it's been a winning recipe for coaches in the past. We think about Mr. Iba way back when, and then Coach Sutton, and how good their teams were defensively. And I've tried to carry that legacy on in our program. And our guys take pride in that's what Oklahoma State basketball, when it's successful, looks like. We also have guys who can really defend the basketball, and Avery Anderson and Caleb Asbury. But we have great rim protection on the backside of that with Musa Cisse, Tyreek Smith, and Caleb Boone rounding out our front line.
Coach, talk a little bit about your philosophy in playing efficient defense and how your kids, as they care about defense, how do they set the tone themselves early?
Well, as a staff, we talk about we don't want teams to be comfortable. We know that teams practice their offense every day and they run it, 5-on-0. We want, when they play against us, to feel like they've never seen an intensity or an aggression from a defensive standpoint like they see with us for 40 minutes. And for the most part, our kids buy into that. We pressure the ball. We try to get deflections and try to be disruptive on the perimeter. But then, like I said, in the paint, we take charges, we block shots, and we try as much as we can to limit your open opportunities through your offense, force you to make plays that you normally don't practice. And then we want to make sure that we can clean up on the glass, which we've done a good job of so far, out-rebounding each one of our opponents through 5 games.
Now, you've got a really good transfer there, John Michael Wright from High Point. Up in the Big South Conference. Now, he's getting 31.6 minutes per game. He looks like a threat off the dribble from three.
Yeah, he's a guy who can really shoot the basketball. So John Michael Wright first played for a terrific Hall of Fame coach and Coach Tubby Smith. For 3 years, and was wildly successful playing for Coach Smith. And so that was one of the things that was intriguing to me when Coach Smith retired and John Michael decided he wanted to try his talent, at a higher level, coming from a coach who I knew was demanding, who tried to teach him to play the right way was important. His experience, his ability to shoot the basketball. He averaged 18 a game for 3 years at High Point, was an all-conference type player, consistently performing for them. And so we knew he would have the ability. It was really a matter of how his talent and ability would translate into our program and in the Big 12. And we thought that his game translated because it wasn't like he just played iso ball. He played within structure. He took good shots, but he wasn't afraid of big moments. And so we think he's a guy we can really count on for leadership, for confidence, and for outside shooting.
Sure. Caleb Boone now is a 57.1% shooter. I know his brother transferred to Pacific, so curious how they've handled not playing on the same team together, I guess, for the first time in their careers.
Well, first time in their lives, right? They're twin brothers. And so not only brothers, right, not a couple years apart, not, some distance between them. They've always lived together, eaten together, sleeping together, and played together. And this is the first time. But I can't really speak to Keelan's experience being where he is. But obviously, I think Caleb's been able to settle in and still be productive and enjoy, playing here without necessarily always having to be attached to his brother. And so he's having a lot of success. He's a big part of us getting the win against DePaul. We were really able to play through him. He's always been an efficient paint scorer for us, but now playing with Musa Cisse, he's also becoming more of a guy that we can have be a passer. He's got 12 assists on the year already in 5 games, which is really, really good for a big guy.
Coach, talk a little bit about at 6'9", how does he project himself on the defensive end of the floor?
Yeah, he's a guy who, because he's pretty mobile, we can guard him against multiple different players. He can guard probably most twos, but he can guard all threes and fours with his length, his understanding of angles and space. We don't really put him on point guard, but we do. If teams are playing small, we can put him on other teams' 5-man as well. So he's a versatile defender. And he's got, like I said, he's got pretty good feel and understanding of our system, having been at like Avery Anderson for now 4 years.
Now, yeah, you mentioned Musa Cisse inside. He already has 18 block shots in these first 5 games, shoots 59% from the floor as well. He and Caleb, I found this statistic interesting. They average 7 offensive rebounds together a game.
Absolutely, and we need them because those two, along with Tyreek Smith, who's really, really good as a rebounder as well, probably the best thing he does, give us a chance to get some easy baskets. Their length, aggression, when we get guys like Avery Anderson and Bryce Thompson and Caleb Asbury and John Michael shooting from the outside, they give us great balance that we can throw it inside. We can get second chance opportunities if we're not shooting well. But Cisse's defensive presence around the rim as a shot blocker, maybe the best in the country. And we're certainly thankful that he's with us.
Sure. Now, Bryce Thompson, how he finds shots, and then do you have a certain part of the playbook for him?
We do, and we're actually trying to get him back in rhythm. He's been a little bit out of sync here to start the season, but like any scorer, it's just a matter of getting comfortable and having one night where he sees shots go in. And he did a little bit to start the game against DePaul, actually, and then kind of cooled off at the end. But he's a veteran scorer. He's a guy we can run off screens, staggers or pin downs or flares. But he's also good as a primary playmaker. So he can play in pick and roll. He's a good passer. For him, it's just a matter of getting better 3-point shots because his 3-point percentage is a little down right now. We got to get those numbers up for him because he's done a good job everywhere else.
Yeah, now as we look at the Big 12 this season, obviously you're in, you're out. It's right on top of the college basketball universe. How do you see it this year? We know it's going to be there, but is it even more productive or effective maybe than last year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm afraid as I look around the league early and watch the first 2 weeks of the season, our league may be stronger than it even was last year. Obviously, you always start with Kansas. They've been the gold standard of the league, reigning national champions. But we also had the national champion the year before in Baylor, a program that 15 years ago wasn't nearly as relevant as they are now. The year before that, I think Kansas and Baylor would have been both #1 seeds if not we had the pandemic shut down the tournament. The year before that, Texas Tech played in the national championship game. Saw what they did to a Louisville team out in Hawaii just yesterday. And then you talk about teams like Iowa State, who went to the Sweet 16, K-State, who started off 5-0. And, don't forget, you got guys like West Virginia with a Hall of Fame coach and Coach Huggins, who's all threat. So this league is very well balanced. We talk about top to bottom. Well, there really isn't a bottom. I've been in the league 5 years now, and Bob Huggins' teams have finished last in our league. I don't think anybody would want to sign up to go play Bob Huggins twice a year. But our conference is a really good team is going to be close to the bottom. We've been fortunate to finish in the top half the last 2 years, and we know it'll be a battle to stay there this season.
Is there too much dwelling by, I don't know, by TV, radio, papers, or whatever on a team losing their last game, which is an NCAA tournament game, and then it can be somebody who wins the regular season or wins the conference tournament, and all of a sudden it's forgotten about.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate kind of reality of our profession and our industry is that people really don't give a whole lot of credit during the regular season. There's been teams that have been excellent. I mean, I take Gonzaga, for example. Now the gripe is they haven't won a national championship. Well, it's really hard to win a national championship.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, they've gotten to a national championship game a couple times. So they're right there. And your body of work over the course of time should mean something, should count for something. And we know that a lot of things can happen over the course of a single game, which makes the tournament great and heartbreaking all at the same time. Because you see it over and over again. Kentucky, as good as they were last year, losing the first round to St. Peter's. Purdue, another team who kind of gets criticized for not being able to win the big game, quote unquote. Well, Matt Payne is one of the best coaches in college basketball by far. Anybody in our business will tell you that. And sometimes you run into a team that's hot, or it's a bad matchup, or you have an off shooting day. And those things happen. And I wish people would give more grace to understanding that that's what happens in a game that's, for 2 hours. I mean, I would guess if Kentucky and St. Peter's played 100 times, the smart money would be on Kentucky 100 times.
Yeah.
And would lose 1 out of 100. And that's
what happens. Yeah, last thing, Coach, rumors have persisted here, I guess more so lately, that the NCAA tournament might expand. What's your thoughts on that? You feel good about that happening? And how, if you do, how would you say it should expand?
Yeah, I haven't given a whole lot of thought to the process of how to get there, but I'm not opposed to it, and partly because of what we just talked about, especially at teams at a lower level, right? I was at Stephen F. Austin as an assistant for 3 years with Brad Underwood. And in that time, we lost one conference game in 3 years. But the anxiety you feel as a coach at that level when you get to your conference tournament, because it doesn't matter if you were 18-0 in your conference or you're on a 28-game winning streak like we were one year. If you don't win it, you're not going. So I feel bad that teams like that have to have all that pressure on one game like we just talked about. Because when you don't make the tournament, it's like you didn't play the season.
Sure.
Even if you get to the tournament and lose, at least you got a chance to be a part of it. And so I think more inclusion. I don't know exactly how that should, play itself out. Maybe there should be a true criteria that's out and open for everybody to understand, whether it's scheduling or conference play or whatever it is. But I don't think it'd be bad to expand it a little bit more to be more inclusive of teams that have great years and just happen to not win the final game of their conference tournament.
Coach Michael Boynton out in Stillwater, Oklahoma. One of the good coaches, one of the guys I really enjoy having on. Your coach, it's great to see you again. Great to have you back. I wish you the best this season.
Ken, thanks for having me. Enjoy what you do for the game and your enthusiasm for it. And I look forward to being back on, hopefully in March sometime.
Definitely in March. Yeah, there you go.